Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sum of All Parts, which, by the way, yes, we are turning this into a podcast. Thanks to all of you. Thank you so much to everybody who donated from $1 to $500 or whatever it was that was contributed. We are doing it. We're turning this into a podcast. This is going to be one of the three that we already have recorded that we're going to turn into the podcast. So thank you so much. I appreciate you guys for everything. Today is going to be a little bit different type of show. We have a couple different guests. Some you already know, some you don't. You will get to know them today, though. So I'm excited to bring this to you guys, and very, very, very important topics that we're talking about today. So I can't stress it enough. If you haven't already, please share this. Tell everybody about it. If you're on YouTube watching me right now, please subscribe, ring the bell, share it as well, and tell everybody to do the same. If you're on the Streetlights Unity Movement page watching this right now, please like and share the page. Tell everybody to come on over, all right? This is our movement, Streetlights Unity Movement, for everybody. So moving right on into this, let me go ahead and bring to the forefront my brother from another mother of another color and my partner in all that I do, Anthony B. The Change Russo.
How do you flow like that? I don't have that ability.
Don't know.
What's up? What's up, brother?
All right. Coming up next, my sister from another mister. Love her to death. Got to bring up Miss Gabby.
How do you do that?
Hey.
All right. Coming on up next, I got to bring this one up because she's like a superhero. You know what I'm saying? Out in Chicago. She's a makeup artist by day and a Chicago police officer by night. Sometimes it switches because they got swing shift. Miss Shelly.
Hi, you guys.
All right. Then we got to bring in my brother. I love this guy. He's amazing. I want to introduce him to you guys. If you hadn't catched him on the last show that we did on his podcast that he has, Mr. Corey from Just Face It. What your name is?
What your name is and where you from, huh? That was for
All
you,
right.
That was for you, man.
Hey, you the man, brother. And then last but certainly not least, I love this guy. He's like another version of me in like a parallel universe, but we're from the same universe because we haven't been proven to have other universes that are parallel to this one. Mr. Black Rant.
Oh, I love that explanation. It was like Marvel, the expanded something.
Yes, thank you. You get it. You get it. All right. How's everybody doing today?
Man, fantastic.
I'm great.
Good.
Feeling good.
Good. So we're gonna jump right on into this. You know, we do have a lot of things to discuss. First and foremost, I want to thank you guys for all being a part of this. You guys are all going to be on the podcast for Some of All Parts, so that's exciting. All right. First thing we're going to talk about today. All right. The first thing, and it's mixed up the questions that I got written out here before me, but this one I feel like we need to talk about first because it's been all over the news and narratives have been pushed, and let's discuss it. How do you guys feel about the Jacob Blake incident and the Kyle incident? We'll firstly start off with Mr. Blake. And the first person I want to speak on this topic is you, Shelly, for the reason of you're not only a makeup artist and a very good one at that. I love your eyeshadow. How did you get it to blend the way that you got it to blend? I wanted you to talk about it because you're also a Chicago police officer and you know more than others how it would go in a police encounter like that, where they're pulling up on somebody who has a warrant for their arrest, also had a domestic dispute call come in on him. So go ahead. How do you feel about the situation? Let me know.
So I think with any situation, I'd always like to gather the facts first because people tend to think that my opinion is biased because I am the police. But I like to, like anything else, gather your facts first before you make a comment on something. So after reviewing several different videos and getting like several different accounts of what happened, my opinion was that the police were justified in what they did. I think that the police did all the tactics that they teach you, started de-escalating. So they started with de-escalating. They tried to talk him to put the knife down. They tried talking him into comply and put his hands behind his back. After that, once things got hand on, they tried tasing him. Actually, they tased him twice, not once. They tried tasing him twice. It did not work. Once that happened, he was stating he has a gun. He's going to go back to his car. He's going to get this gun. The police officer's like reaching in. I don't know if he's trying to grab his arm because the door of the car's there, trying to grab him. Whatever happens after that, you can't really see. But I think the officers were justified in what they did. I think they've used all the tactics they could, and unfortunately, that was the outcome.
Okay, and real quick, just want to, because you're a Chicago police officer, right?
Yes.
So check this out. When he has a warrant for his arrest, there's no way that he's not going to jail, first off, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Second off, when you attack the police officers and you have a weapon, they have the right to use deadly force, correct?
Correct. So
they can shoot one shot to the whole clip.
Well, it should be. So there's not a necessary. So people get confused when they talk about amounts of shots. So what it is you are to eliminate the threat completely. Like that person, you're to take out their delivery system. So their delivery system is their arms, obviously. You don't want them to reach for a gun. You don't want them to give the option that they're still moving and they could still grab a gun. You want to eliminate that.
Right. Okay. I want to move over real quick to Miss Gabby, because Miss Gabby, you're squad all day, Avengers Assemble, right? But you have different opinions on some things than the rest of us do that are conservative minded, I would say, even though I feel that you are conservative minded. You ain't got to admit it, but it's okay. How do you feel about the situation?
Basically, when I seen the video, immediately I was upset. And I will tell you why I was upset. I was upset. I heard nothing. I didn't hear any recordings. I just know what I saw. And what I saw was how quickly he moved from one side of the car to the other. And then you open the car door. And I'm sitting here like, dude, what the heck are you doing? How stupid are you? That was my immediate thought. First of all, you know what's going on in America today. You know what everybody's fighting for. You know the situation. Why? Why would you do that? Clearly. And so at that point, I told my husband, I was like, I felt like he got what he deserved. And he was like, how can you say that? And I was sitting here like, okay, dude, think about it. If the officer is following you with a gun, clearly he had to tell you, hey, stop moving something. I didn't see when he was tased, but the video that I seen, when you walk to your car and open that car door, as an officer, I put myself in his shoes. And I felt like I would have done the same thing. I would not have shot you 7 times. I thought that was too much. But I would have shot you because at this point, I'm feeling like it's either your life or mine. And you do not go reaching into your corridor and opening it to reach for something when a cop is behind you with a gun. Like, why would you do that? So in this case, I really do feel like the shooting was justified. 7 shots, too much,
There you go.
but it was justified.
He got shot 4 times, but they shot at him 7 times.
Okay.
I feel like the cop was a bad shot, but we're going to get into a different discussion. So I want to move over to Russo. Russo, how do you feel about this whole thing, man?
So this has been the not George Floyd, but this one has been the catalyst where I've lost several friends, several Facebook friends, because of that opinion of path of least resistance to actually fix the problem. And we talked before the show a little bit about it not being a fix, but making it better. And I think it's insane that we aren't looking at, we're looking at this as a racial issue of police brutality when it's got nothing to do with it. It's got to do with a criminal that is beyond breaking the law in that moment and setting himself up for what could kill him. And the post that I keep saying that our police should not be judgment on whether or not a criminal should die. I agree. That's the point. That's why they're trying to arrest this person. If you find those videos of a cop going up like the Tamir Rice, where a cop did not give the opportunity, that's where they were the judge, jury, and executioner. This is not that case, and it's dividing people so much. It just absolutely boggles my mind. And the thing about the more police training, more police reform, I get it. That's part of evolving as a society. But at the same time, at the end of the day, they're still going to be human. So the way to fix the problem is to actually punish criminals and say, you know what? I wish you wouldn't have died, or I wish you wouldn't have got paralyzed, but it shouldn't have happened because it was his fault, because no matter how much training a police officer has, at the end of the day, they're still human. And in the moment of life or death, you don't know how they're going to react. So I think it's absurd what we're going through right now over this criminal, this alleged criminal.
Don't get me banned again.
Sorry. Alleged criminal. I think it's absolutely absurd.
I agree 110%. I think it's beyond absurd. It's beyond ridiculous that first off, people would react the way that they did and start tearing up the country without knowing the facts that this man is an alleged sex offender, which if you haven't been on Twitter and read what the aunt of the victim had to say, oh Lord, please get over there. I'll share that with you guys later. But we're going to move on over to Mr. Corey. Corey, talk to him, man. How do you feel about the situation?
Well, first of all, I think it was extremely necessary. And I commend the cops for reacting so fast. And my number one reason for commending the cops for acting so fast is because the children's lives are at danger, period. We can forget about him having a warrant, whatever. I don't care about none of that. The bottom line is that he had kids in the car and he had every intention to do whatever he was that he wanted to do. And after that, he was going to take off in that car and put the police on a high speed chase. And they had no choice but to do what they did. That's just the bottom line.
I agree.
And I think that so when Anthony, when you speak about this has been very dividing, it's been very dividing due to the timing of the incident, because we're getting closer to the election and they want to blow this out of proportion in order to keep the disturbance going. Those are my thoughts.
Definitely. That is totally valid. I have nothing to come back at that. That was perfect. All right. Now I see you over there, man. And you know, I saved you for last for a reason, because you are literally paralleled me. So I know you have an opinion about this, my brother, and I cannot wait to hear it. So Black Ran for Liberty, talk to him.
Thank you, Cash. Thank you, Anthony. I'm going to get into it. The Jacob Blake situation. My one thought that I will just leave y'all with is the situation is this. The man had a restraining order against his girlfriend for a sexual assault. We're not going to talk about it because we're
even if it's
allegedly this guy was doing something. So the police were called. The one thing I find crazy hypocritical right now at this point is the WNBA putting his name on their shirts when the police were originally there to save a woman's life. We missing the whole point because we're so focused on black man shot. I get it.
You know why?
Use our brains.
Do you know why, my brother?
Why?
I'm gonna tell you why. And this is you can see it through the start of the George Floyd thing. All right, since the start of the whole George Floyd thing, they have been doing things like that, and black people just been running with it. Like
they want black people to
with it. They're looking at us like we're stupid, bro. It's like that's how I feel like it's a mockery. Go ahead, Black Ran. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you good. They want black people to identify with scumbaggery, criminality, with hatred, with failure. That's why dude, I saw CNN the other day. The dude, Jacob Blake's father, was on there. And you could tell he was like, oh, okay, we're going to do an interview. What's his name? That guy, the dude with the silver hair, the guy who's allegedly in the three-letter industry. Anderson Cooper is sitting there and starts asking him a question. Well, sir, your son was a criminal, wasn't he? Your son was this, wasn't he? We heard that he was a piece of crap. And the father's just sitting there. Tears are starting to well up. And he's like, I don't want to talk about this. This is I don't want to say the word, but it's pornographic for the left. It's like porn for the left to watch black people suffer. Yeah, they want to watch us suffer.
I coined it race porn the other night. People like that. It's race porn.
That's exactly what it is.
You know what I love about this whole discussion? First off is that we are a diverse group right here. We have, me from the hood out here, Chicagoland. You got Gabby, you in Texas, right, Gabby? Gabby, oh, I'm sorry, I got you on mute. Let me unmute you real quick and chill. You got Gabby down there in Texas, also from the hood, right?
Houston.
All right, Houston in the hood. Then you got Shell She's a Chicago police officer, but before that, she's still in the hood, but became a police officer to help her hood. All right. And then you got, just face it, Mr. Corey. Corey, you from the hood? I never asked you that.
I'm from the hood.
From the hood, right?
Yep.
Grant, you from the hood?
I live in the suburbs of Boston. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I can't claim
That's
it,
a
bro.
good thing. That's good. That's a good thing. You're from the suburbs in Boston, not from the hood. Then you got Russo, a white man. I know he's not from the hood. I'm joking. I can't hear you.
Not from the hood now, but I grew up. It's an interesting thing. I grew up the poorest kid in a wealthier demographic.
Okay. Fair enough. The whole point of what I'm trying to say is that you have a diverse group of people here: Black, Latina, and white. You got all of us here, different walks of life, some of the same walks of life, all in agreement because we're willing to have the discussion. And even when we're not in agreement, we're not going to tear each other apart for our views. So this is this podcast that I'm doing right here. I want this to be an example to everyone who hears it that you don't have to hate somebody if you disagree, and that just because you're not from the same area doesn't mean that you can't have the same opinion or same beliefs. So this is definitely breaking barriers is the point that I was getting at. So moving on, talking about this whole Jacob Blake thing, there's a lot of disgusting things that is coming out about this man that he allegedly did. And the mockery of like you say about the WNBA, of them putting his name on a women's jersey, that's like putting Michael Vick dog collars on pit bulls, like and parading them in a dog show. You know what I'm saying? And then it just an animal activists being the ones to do it. You feel me? It's kind of like that to me. It's a mockery, man. And they've been doing this. Each time they do it, like you say, they're promoting the criminal aspect. They're promoting, like, I'm really second guessing if I want to go out and get shot by the police because I can get $1 million. You know what I'm saying? And this is the things that's being perpetuated. So then you have this white kid, Kyle. Now, Kyle is 17 years old from Antioch, Illinois, went out to Kenosha, right? And when he went out there, the whole day, there's tons of pictures of this kid helping scrub graffiti, helping protect businesses, giving water to people, just out there being a good kid. He's carrying his gun because he's like, yo, it's crazy out here, and he just wants to help out. He drove all the way from there to go over there and help out. Ends up in a confrontation to where he had to use his gun. And the only thing that we had got to see when it first came out was the news headlines about this kid shooting, alleged white supremacist shooting a Black Lives Matter protester and killing him and shooting somebody else. And supposedly at that time, there was 4 people that were injured and all these things. And it was just active shooter is how they put it. There's an active shooter in Kenosha. Okay. And then you come to find out that the man that he did shoot was an alleged.
Convicted.
A convicted. Say the word.
What would it be? Well, he's not even. He's a not pedophiliac, child molester.
You get it, people. This guy was no kind of good. Okay, no kind of good, and he ran up on the dude, assaulted the dude. He even tried to run away from them. He's running away from them. They're chasing him. If he really wanted to be an active shooter, he would have just turned around and started opening fire on everybody, if that's what he really set out to do. That's not what he set out to do. Okay? And then the other guy has a gun. And he kicked him in the face. And he shot him. Now, I don't know about you, but here in America, we have rights. And if somebody is attacking your life, especially with a firearm, you have the right to protect your life and ultimately take the life of the aggressor. And that's exactly what happened. but they're painting this kid out to be a terrorist. They're painting this kid out to be some type of demon, some type of racist supremacist that came out there just to agitate. Yet we're calling Blake Jacob a hero. Jacob Blake a hero. I'm calling this man. That's how unimportant he is to me. I can't even get his name right. All right. And it's disgusting to me. So I'm going to start with you on this one, Russo. How do you feel about that?
So I did a lot of work on this one today because as part of the friend flush, apparently in my life, they kept saying how ridiculous it was that I could think that this was a decent human, this 17-year-old, and I questioned what he did wrong, which he did break some laws. He carried a firearm across the state line, which although it was a 30-minute drive, it's still technically against the law. He is not old enough to, I believe, not old enough to be having that firearm because it was not registered to him. Those are the two laws that he broke. Shelley actually will be able to answer that question a little bit better. Aside from that, nothing he did was wrong. So legally, if they can add the other charges because he broke the other two, that's a different story. But ultimately, as you said, they're calling him a police sympathizer, which is a way of almost essentially saying that he is. I mean, a sympathizer is like a Nazi sympathizer. You think of the word sympathizer, you think that they're like alt-right. The kid once posted Blue Lives Matter, and he has a couple pictures on his social media where he's holding a gun. Clearly, he's also very well trained with his gun as well because he eliminated a threat that was coming at him. He had a lot of the arguments I have are so basic on thinking that he just was running up a street shooting people without actually watching and knowing the full footage, which again, people are programmed by the first thing that they see. So this kid was, by the way, now they're finding out that he goes to Kenosha a lot and potentially works in Kenosha because it's only 30 minutes away. He answered the call of a business that needed help. So the business goes, I've lost half my business to being burnt down. Can anybody help protect my store? Because the police are outmanned at this point. Kid goes down, a couple other people go down, and initially they charge the store. It wasn't a Molotov cocktail. It looked like they threw a bag of water. He was given the gun when he got there. Oh, that could be a very interesting story. It doesn't mean you can possess a fire. I don't know. Shelley will talk about that. So anyways, so ultimately he's protecting the store, and people legit on a post today, a black friend of mine said the store should have hired private security if that's what they wanted. This is a store, and I really thought that he might have been kidding. This is a private store, a small business that just lost half of their life savings, their everything, and they're praying that they can even maintain a business. And people are expecting them to hire private security. That could have been the dumbest comment of the day. So if you're watching, just know that was the dumbest comment I heard today. That sounded like privilege to me. Because if a white dude would have said, like, why couldn't he get private security? They'd been like, oh, that must be nice to just get private security. Anyways, lastly, then the two guys, he shot them when they were attacking him, and he threw his hands up in the air trying to get arrested. Why was he not killed? Because he had his hands up and nobody knew what was going on. To compare the two makes you, as Cash would like to say, unintelligent. It literally is something that I look at and I can't even find a middle ground on it because it makes zero sense. The guy was doing everything good during the day, helping people. And he said he was an EMT at one point, but apparently he was a lifeguard because he was helping people that had tear gas in his eyes. I'm well over my time, but there's a lot that can be said good about this kid. I'm sorry, I can't say kid because you have to refer to them as a young adult because then So anyways, this young adult, he was doing everything right. And when push came to shove, he pulled the trigger.
I believe in Kyle. Hats off to you, sir.
The last thing I'll say, Cash, somebody said something and I go, you know what? Just because I see how much hate he's facing, I'm going to go ahead and donate to his defense fund. And that's when that is when I lost the friends. Like, you would donate to that kid? And I go, look at how many people are donating to the criminal. This kid he's about to be facing the biggest prosecutors in the country that the NAACP can find. He's about to be screwed. Yeah, I'll donate $10.
I'm going to donate too. Shell, go right ahead. I want to hear your thoughts on this.
Okay, so I have a couple of thoughts. So one, as a mom first, because my first go-to is going to be a mom. I have a son that will be 17 in 3 days. My son, we take him to the range. We teach him how to shoot. But I will say, Mom, I would never allow my son to go across state lines. Now, the whole theory about like him having the gun, whether he had it, whether he didn't have it, supposedly he had it crossing state lines. That's true. He can be charged with carrying a weapon across state lines. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if that was part of the charges. I'll have to look back on my text messages because I was getting some information from people. So I would have to check back on that. So that's just, I mean, that's a little portion of it, right? That's my mom speaking because I'm a mom first and foremost. Now, the police officer in me and the person with common sense in me says that, like, I watched all this video footage on play, like, as it was coming out and more people were bringing it forward. Once they start beating your ass with a skateboard, they're pushing you, they're hitting with hands and feet. They start hitting you with a skateboard. People don't think a skateboard is a deadly weapon. Those things are heavy as hell.
Yep.
You can get a subdural hematoma quickly, have a brain bleed that's so bad and die. That, to me, I think he was justified. Then after the first two he shoots the first two guys, he's like running in the street, and that's the video the media first relayed. That's what the media first showed you.
They put this on.
Running in the street, you see some guy like push him or do something, hit him behind the head. They knock him to the floor. They're trying to grab his gun. Like, you see him grabbing his gun. So what do you think they're going to do with that gun? And then what they don't show you is the guy has his own gun. Is he going to take it out and pistol whip you? Like, I mean, come on. Like, he's lucky that he didn't get that close distance, his head blown off, to be honest.
I agree.
And I think he did do the right things. Like, he called 911 after he first killed there's a video recording to 911 that he did call the police on himself, saying that he just killed 2 people.
See, that was one responsible kid. I mean, young adult.
So we gotta correct that. There's no evidence that he called the police. It looks like he may have called his friend. Regardless, he called somebody to say that he was in trouble.
He made 2 phone calls.
Did he make the second one? Okay, I didn't know if that was confirmed. We have to be, as a conservative man, we have to be very careful right now what we say to make sure that we are saying things correctly. Otherwise, we'll get.
Yeah, they'll flatline my freaking Facebook.
Okay, so allegedly, there were 2 phone calls, one to a friend and one to the police.
I believe him.
So my personal opinion, like, I think he was justified in all 3.
Me too. Free cow. Black Rant, let me hear you, brother. Come on.
Okay, so I'm not gonna, this Kyle situation, I'm not gonna say his last name. He's a minor, but he's made Kyle's cool again. He's made Kyle's great again. I mean, Kyle's at a certain point, they had just become like a fake Mountain Dew commercial, like just corny, cheesy with their Monster Bang energy drinks. I mean, but what I will say about this, one particular incident is, once again, we have the left defending people who are obvious or alleged or convicted sexual offenders. And the hypocrisy doesn't end. Aren't you guys all doing this to help women? Aren't you all doing this to help society? And yet every excuse you have is toward the people who are criminals or alleged criminals or whatever. We have been hijacked. Our culture has been hijacked, where now people think that being bad is so cool that they have given up all responsibility, all thought. And this is the one thing Shelly laid it out. She said, my mom instinct, she's a mother. She understands this. When you become a parent, you start to understand what responsibility is and what the biological human system is all about. We are biologically designed and imprinted to procreate and have kids and have families and have communities. These people are so lost. They think that their culture is being a criminal because it's a lot of people who have been told what sex is by the media, by music. They've been told what a relationship is. Oh, you're supposed to sleep around. You're supposed to just be a lawless person. You're supposed to have 10 babies daddies. You're supposed to have, and that now we have, and it was tested in the Black community. It was tested, which is why we have the Jacob Blake situation. This type of stuff is so common. It doesn't matter what hood. It doesn't matter if it's a Black hood. It doesn't matter if it's a Yugoslavian hood. Whenever people are in poverty, they are taught to act like criminals. It is the way you must behave in a criminal and an impoverished situation. And I feel bad for these people. I really feel bad. But millennials, white liberal leftist millennials in this country are so privileged. Even Black people in this country, so privileged. So they're not even impoverished. They're in the richest country in the world. And they think they have to act like this. This is how people act in war-torn countries, man. And they think they need to act like this to save the world from Nazis. Like, what are you talking about?
Brother, I love you. First off, I just got to tell you that I love every time I hear you talk. Seriously, I can listen to you all day.
I love you too, brother.
And it's a sad thing, bro, because you're right. They associate, and this has been like this for a very long time when it comes to the media. The media has this stereotype that they put into the minds of people, and most Black people, and they adopt it, and they think that to be Black, first off, like, you gotta like rap music. To be Black, you gotta be a criminal. To be Black, you gotta have the most chicks. To be Black, you gotta have the most money, the nicest car. You gotta be hood to be Black. That's what they push on us. If you're not a criminal, if you ain't got your stripes, then you ain't Black. And then the newest thing that they pushing on us is if you don't vote for Joe, then you ain't Black. You know what I'm saying? This is all.
Dude, if you don't take care of your kids, you ain't Black. How about that? If you don't take care of your family, you ain't Black. What happened to that? LBJ. Oh,
no, you can't do that. You know why you can't do that? Because then you're attacking the welfare system. You know what I'm saying? Can't do that. Maybe I'm going too far here. Let's keep it moving. Corey, weigh in on this. Oh, wait a minute, Corey. Hold on. Weigh in, Corey.
All right, I'm gonna start. I'm gonna go up ahead and I'm gonna come back. So I'm gonna go backwards. So at the point where he was being attacked and hit with a skateboard and all that, he did what he had to do, and he seemed to be well trained to do what he did. So I can commend him from that standpoint. But I think that we have to be careful how we pump him up to be such a hero, because he broke the law in order to get himself in that situation. And we don't want to send out the wrong messages to people to make people think that it's okay, because that can get extremely dangerous. Because see, here's one of the problems, and this happens on the left, do it all the time. But now as a right, we find ourselves doing the same thing. We pumping this guy up for what he did, and I mean, he did a good job, and it looked at all good and all that. But at the same time, in order for him to do it, he broke the law first. You understand what I'm saying? So it's a bad example, and that bothers me that a 17-year-old kid would think that it's okay for him to go and protect anybody's business at 17 with any type of rifle. And that's what happens, you know what I'm saying, to a kid when you put a kid in a grown man situation. So that's the only thing that bothers me about it. Now, was he wrong for protecting himself? Absolutely not. I mean, he did exactly what he needed to do in that situation. But the thing that bothers me is how he got to that.
True. I hear you. I can't really argue. You just said that very well. I feel you 100%. But you know what? I gotta respectfully kind of disagree, and not because that you're wrong. It's not because you're wrong at all. It's because of we're in a very weird time in this country, to where you look at a 17-year-old kid, 16-year-old, 15-year-old kid is turning on the news and playing 2K or whatever it is, and you see all these images and all these things that they're pushing on you, and they're pushing them in your face. And now imagine being Kyle if he plays 2K and he goes on there and instantly Black Lives Matter, we stand with this. Or he's playing Madden and then it pops up, we got to stand with this. Or he's on social media and then he got to stand for this. And then when he turns on the news, he sees all these things happening. And one thing that they don't show, which is a big thing that's been happening a lot lately, is I don't know if you guys have seen any of these videos, but there's a lot of kids that are going around that are, you know, brown, white, and black, and they're beating up white kids that they feel don't stand with Black Lives Matter, literally knocking them out. Have you guys seen those videos?
Yeah.
Like they're targeting them. They're just going up to them and stomping them out, like brutalizing them. And this is something that's not being talked about. So when I'm saying that to say this with Kyle, I feel like he had hit a point where he just was like, I'm sick of it. I'm tired of this. And he felt helpless. So why not go help? I'm not helpless. I know how to shoot. I want to be a police officer. I support the police. I feel like a patriot. I want to go and help this business that needs some help.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? Yeah. I remember being 17 and going out and doing things for my community that I wanted to do that I feel would have made a difference. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And yeah, I mean, that's just that's how I feel about it.
Let me say one thing first to what you said. I get that and I understand that, but all I'm saying is that we have to be really careful with that, because there are thousands and thousands of 17-year-olds that feel the exact same way.
You're right.
And if we're not careful and we give him too much credit for what he did and we expose that and talk about that too much, it's almost like giving other kids the room to think that it's okay to do it, and then they start doing it.
No, you're right.
That can get ugly.
You're right. I'm not trying to give him credit. The point that I'm trying to make is there's so much negativity. There's so much things going on in the world that are weighing heavy on especially white men and young white males because of the times that they're in, because of the way that the world is running right now. It's never okay for a 17-year-old to go pick up a gun and say, I'm going to go and protect anything, unless it was 1776, where they actually had 17-year-olds go out and fight in the war. But that's another discussion. But this kid, I feel like, and a lot of kids out there, they're hitting a point where they're upset. You know, they're sick of being the target. You know what I mean? And all because of a false narrative that people have put out there. This all started because they say that cops are killing black people in a crazy rate, and they're only targeting black people. So say that Kyle was woke. Say that Kyle's a woke kid and he knows that this is a lie. So he sees his country being torn up over a lie. And there's so many ways to look at it. But like you said, it is not okay for any kid to go out and pick up a gun and go protect anything. I'm not encouraging that at all. As a matter of fact, I stand against that. Don't do that. That's why we have the things set up in place that we have. We have law enforcement. We have ways that we do things. So not encouraging it. All I'm saying is I understand. I understand. You know what I'm saying? That's it. Before we keep going, guys, I got to bring in a brother of mine that's also amazing. I've been waiting for him to jump on. He's got his own show, Black and Right. And not just that, he's been teaching me a lot and he's been encouraging me a lot. And he means a lot to me. So let me bring in Mr. J. Anthony.
What's up, brother?
What's going on, brother?
Hey, don't mind the stuff, but I got 6 kids, so that's all that you see behind me. That's all my 6 kids.
It's all good. It's all good. We're just weighing in on this discussion. I'm going to move over to Gabby, and then I'm going to fill you in, and I want to hear your response. Okay. So, Gabby, I want you to go on ahead and jump in and let us know, how do you feel about Kyle? Oh, you need it.
First watching the video, I'm not gonna lie, I was Team Kyle all the way. When you're sitting here, Kyle has a gun. You're sitting here hitting this kid with skateboards and everything else, and in my head, I'm sitting here like, you must have lost your mind doing this with somebody with a gun in their hand. Now, when he shot, I believe that it was justified because I really felt like his life was in danger and he did what he had to do. Because I said, if that was me, I was going to shoot. I don't know who would have got hit with the bullet, but I was going to shoot. And so I totally agree with that. What I don't agree with as a mother, that just disgusts me. I wish I would. I wish I would. I would take my child at 17 years old to take him somewhere else with a gun. Are you nuts? Are you nuts? For what? Why? To protect what? No. The only thing you're going to protect right here, right now, is your home, unless they call you to go out to the army, and then you protect and serve. Other than that, that was not called for. Do I feel like it was justified what he did? Yes, because I feel like his life was in danger. And let me tell you one thing that I feel like what a lot of Black Americans upset about was when Kyle walked past the police, walked up to him with his hands in the air with this gun literally hanging like, okay, if somebody's walking up to you with their hands up, it's kind of saying, hey, maybe something just happened. He's doing something wrong. They're pointing. They're saying, hey, he just shot 2 people. He just shot 2 people. Get him. Hey. And the cops is like, oh, yeah, rolling on along. And so this is what is really stirring up a lot of things, too, with the video. And so now people are upset. Black America's upset because it's like, well, if this was Tyrone walking down here with this gun and his hands up in the air, they would have jumped out the car, had Tyrone on the ground, and it would have been different. You see what I'm saying? They didn't get the call that oh, hey, this is Kyle. Kyle just shot 2 guys. All they knew was that there's this kid walking up to him. His hands is in the air. It's in the air for a reason.
I hear
but
you,
they bypassed
but
him and
here's
didn't
the
care.
thing.
They didn't. You see what I'm saying? But Kyle was justified for what he done. The cops should have done better because they didn't know. These people, you can hear them saying, hey, they're pointing at him. He just shot 2 people. He just hit.
I get
and
it,
they passed
but
it and
I
ignored
gotta
it.
say, Tyrone would have resisted. If we're going by, what people, what people would think or how they would feel about the situation, then Tyrone would have resisted. If we're going by that, because that's the thing, that the whole thing why everything happens and it escalates and police end up having to shoot people is because they resist. They don't comply. Kyle, even though he got a gun on now, had he have said, hold on, let me take my gun off, they probably would have shot him. You know what I'm saying? He had his hands up to let him know, like, look, I'm not a threat. I ain't not trying to touch this gun. Yeah, I shot 2 people. They tried to kill me. You know what I'm saying? Now, had he had a different approach to them, I think that it would have worked out differently. I think they would have shot him because we know that the police don't just target Black people. There's a lot of white people that get shot by the police for having a gun. So it just goes into how did the reaction happen to Kyle? If they would have had guns, had their guns drawn on them, which I believe they did. I believe they did have their guns drawn on them and told them, yo, put your hands up and walk towards us. That's what I think happened. And I mean, I don't know. I could be wrong, but like I said,
you did. So hold on. I got to be very
night.
clear because Gabby, you're assuming something that a lot of people have, and I've gotten this part of the conversation too. That how did the cops not hear that people said he shot anybody? The reason you can hear that is the person holding the cell phone is next to the people yelling it. Think of how loud everything is in that moment. It's blaring. Think about the people chanting, the other things going on, the explosions. Nobody knew what he was doing, and there was hundreds of people, if not thousands, that were armed that night. So if you see one person with their hands up, they mean absolutely nothing in that moment. Just to clarify.
And the cop car in front of him actually backed up. So I'm looking like, why is the cop backing up? He's backing up while Kyle is walking towards him with his hand up. So I'm sitting here like, okay, he must be thinking Kyle's going to probably pick up the gun and shoot. Because I seen him reversing, and I didn't get that. But don't get it twisted. I do feel like Kyle was right for defending himself. I am with that. I'm with that. I'm mad at his mother for taking him there, and I'm mad at the cops for not securing the shooter to get the whole story.
Also,
right.
She didn't take him there. He drove himself.
Hey, Gabby, she didn't take him there. Actually, his defense came out with a full-blown 3-page defense of what actually happened with Kyle. I'm a former police officer here in the state of Illinois. When something like that happens, your first concern is the injured. So with all that, if you look at that video, you'll see all the lights and sirens. Cops, I guarantee you, they really couldn't really see who he was. They were focused on let's get to the source of the problem. As a cop, when I responded to incidents, I ran to the source. Now, from my understanding, Kyle actually called the cops in Antioch when he got home, and he was taken into custody. The media didn't tell that, though. The media didn't tell that. Now, personally, I don't think Kyle will get charged. I don't think there will be a conviction for murder for Kyle.
definitely not.
I think if anything, they could probably get some unlawful use of weapons or something like that, but they will not get murder because that was textbook. He was defending his own life because if they had gotten a hold of his weapon, and you heard so many people say, "Well, he shot somebody first." Well, did you see that guy threw something at him? He was chasing him from private property. So so it doesn't matter how old you are on private property. You can hold a gun on no matter how old you are in Wisconsin on private property. He was chased away from private property, and he did everything in his power to run away from people, to not hurt or harm or bring any great bodily harm or death to anybody. If you watch the videos, you'll see every person that he shot, they did something to him. There was actually the skateboard guy. He threw his hands up. He didn't shoot him. Then he lunged right back at Cal, and Cal popped him with the AR-15. See, here's the problem. Here's the problem with what's happening. The media is complicit in everything that's happening because they want a race war. It's up to us, everybody that's on the screen right here, everybody with their whatever influence you have, to make sure the truth gets out, because the media will never tell the truth.
Nope.
Okay, and I agree with you. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, Shelly. I agree with you. Here's the thing. This was the old me. This is how the old me would have thought. When Kyle walked with that gun, my immediate instinct is to say, you know what? Really, he just sat here and he probably did this and he did that. And I really feel like everything Kyle did was justified. And the old me would have thought different. I would have been with the other side saying, you know what? Kyle should be locked up. Kyle should be charged and everything else. I don't feel like he should be charged. He did everything right. He really did, because I tell you what, I pictured myself in Kyle's shoes, and I felt like a lot of more people would have.
Every juror will.
Exactly what everyone should do is put themselves in that situation. That's the first thing I said. So what if it was you? What if somebody hit you in the head with a skateboard and they chased you before they did it? They chased you, and as all you did was go out there to help protect the store and to clean off some graffiti and be a patriot, an upstanding citizen in this country. What if that was you that was being chased and called names and things thrown at you, and then you're hitting the head with a skateboard, and then you're kicked in your face, and you still didn't fire up until the point where you're scared now. Now you see somebody with a gun that just kicked you in your face. So yeah, that's the real part about it. Shelly, I seen that you had something that you want to say. Go for it.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to touch base again on what Gabby was saying about Kyle once he was walking past and people pushing the narrative, and not you, Gabby. I'm talking about like media, etc., pushing the narrative like, well, because he's a white man, he's walking with his hands up, and the police didn't shoot us, basically. Well, first of all, if you like look throughout that day, right, there was, if you look at images of that day earlier, there were people that were actual protesters that were openly carried, that the police did not stop. They did not stop. So one, there's an age requirement. You don't know how old he was. They don't know that he, 17 and 18, you're right there. So that's one. Two, they're trying to get to the victims of the shooting and get where they're going. They're already undermanned. They're overwhelmed. And there's so much things going on that we tend as police officers to get a tunnel vision too. So we tend to get tunnel vision, and we're focused on, and it's a human error. It's a human error. We all have done it. You're focused on getting to where you got to go. So this kid walking past you with his hands up, right? The police could be thinking that he's part of the BLM movement or these Antifa people, and he's just walking like, hey, hands up, don't shoot. So they're not going to stop him or engage him because they, one, don't have the manpower for it. So I just kind of wanted to touch on that from a police perspective and kind of give you like, I think I probably, if I was on that scene, it would have been the same scenario. I'm not going to stop this one kid out of the thousands of people that are surrounding you. And now you have 3 people confirmed shot.
There you go.
I kind of wanted to add that.
No, you're correct. Denitra says, what is the purpose of a gun at what's supposed to be a peaceful protest? And in response to that, you know what I'm going to say? Ask the man that was just killed in Portland that was at that peaceful protest why there were guns there.
Yep.
Don't ask that about Kyle because he wasn't there to protest. He was there to keep a business safe because the peaceful protesters were looting and burning things down. So
And armed. And armed.
obviously, because there's a gun in the photo. So when you ask that question, make sure that you ask that same question about the man that was just killed in Portland by the peaceful protesters. Moving forward. Everybody had a chance to speak on that?
Yep.
Yes. Okay. So that leads me into my next thing. Okay. We see all these things going on, and all the rise in violence, and all the rise and the race talk, and all of that. So, do you feel like Black Lives Matter has made the changes that they have set out to make, or do you feel like it has gotten worse? I would love to know about this. And the first person I want to speak on this, since he just came in, and I feel like he has a very, very deep perspective on a lot of things. If you have not checked out his show, Black and Right, I will be there this Saturday in the studio. Mr. Anthony, go right ahead, brother. Talk on this. How do you feel? Do you feel like Black Lives Matter has made the changes that they have set out to make, or do you feel like that it's only made things worse?
So I think Black Lives Matter, the organization, no, they have not. Black Lives Matter, the organization, as they're framed, it's not an organization that's really looking for the benefit of Black lives. It's really an arm of the Democrat Party. When you look at go to Black Lives Matter, go to their website, try to give to them. It goes to Act Blue. What you guys don't understand, I'm a former state representative in the state of Illinois. I was the first Black Republican in 40 years to serve in the Illinois House. I didn't know that, did you? Yeah, but if you go to Black Lives Matter and you try to give, it goes straight to Act Blue. Act Blue is an arm of the Democrat Party. So Black Lives Matter as an organization, they have not. I think what you're seeing a Antifa and all these people who are taking over the message of Black Lives Matter to do what they've been wanting to do for decades. Antifa's not new. They've just been known as different names. Socialism, communism. These are the arms of what makes the group Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter as a people, Black Rant for Liberty, Cashley Kelly, Gabby, just face it, we're Black. We know our Black Lives Matter. We've done things to make sure that our Black Lives Matter. I've watched Black Rant for Liberty. I've looked at a lot of his things that he's posted. I think we just became friends, right? Didn't we just become friends, Black Rant? Give me a thumbs up if you did. I think I accepted your friend rate.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think
so. So what's happening? What's happening is what you're seeing is a cluster of a perfect storm that's forming to create a race war, a civil war, right before the election. Mind you, guys, this is political. Yep. I talk to everybody. When I'm on my show, I tell people, what you see happening today, right now, it's political. Because the forces that be want Donald John Trump. I don't know how you guys feel about it. I was not a fan of Donald Trump from the beginning.
I can't give my opinion. I cannot give my opinion because I am also streaming this onto my Streetlights Unity Movement page. But you know what, Anthony? Yes, I can because
we can.
It's my Streetlight Unity Movement page. This is not my foundation.
Right.
My foundation page. It doesn't say Streetlight Unity Foundation.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Is that right? I can say what I want, right?
Yeah.
Just say it real quick.
Trump 2020 all day.
But what I'm saying is when you look at the totality, as a cop, Shelley would know, when you look at the totality of the circumstances, everything combined, when you look at that, you see that the Black Lives Matter movement as a group is totally focused on making sure that Donald John Trump is out of office. Mm-hmm. That's the background of all this. Listen, I'm from the Daily Machine. I'm born and raised Chicago, Illinois. Daily Machine, 21st Ward, 53rd Precinct. That's who I am. That's what I came up through that. So I know this. I've been behind the curtain politically. So I see what's happening with this. So Black Lives Matter, the group, they're no good for us as Black people, because of the agenda. Go on their website, look at the agenda points that they're trying to push throughout America. They're not for us.
Nope.
They're not for white America. They're not for brown America. They're not for anybody. You know what? They've raised over $500 million. Have you seen them in any Black communities trying to bring forth anything that benefits Black America? No. So that's why I say BLM as a group, it doesn't matter. BLM, Black Lives Matter, as a statement, it means everything, because Black lives do matter.
Yes, I agree. You are brilliant, and you're stuck with me for the rest of your life.
And vice versa.
You're my brother, man. Shelly, go ahead, weigh in on that.
I think that as far as them making any kind of changes, I think they've made big changes. They created more divide. They played more into the narrative of the extreme left, which, just kind of little background, I've been raised Democrat. My entire life, I've always voted blue. I've never voted red ever in my life, ever. And just kind of within the last 3 months, looking into things for myself and realizing that shit was not making sense. Like I dug deep into who BLM was. I looked into people here in Chicago. I'm in Chicago as well. So I looked into like Asada's Daughters, My Hood, My City, because I wanted to be a part of a community group that really gave back to these communities that were seeking claiming to, claiming to seek what they wanted. So I really wanted to dig into it and dig into that, to try to be a part of that, to be supportive to them. Once I did, and I started seeing where like money was going, like I'm sorry, I forgot his name.
John.
John, sorry. So once I started seeing things just like he saw, like where this money is going, where it's being donated, the fact that in Chicago alone, like we have over 50 kids just from January 1st until the last time I checked was maybe 2-3 weeks ago, over 50 kids, and that's under the age of 16 killed. And the majority of them are Black. And not one protest for them, not one.
Not one.
Not one. So for me, like looking into that and digging into that and starting to realize why I hated Donald Trump so much. I'm Mexican and Puerto Rican. And I believe that he said we were drug dealers and we were rapists. And he wanted to build a wall from keeping my people out. I really believe that until I finally got off my ass and looked and watched those videos back. Like I had to play them. And then when I started seeing that they were just showing me bits and pieces, I was like completely shook. And then when I started, the more that I dug and the more that I found, I became pissed at the Democratic Party for playing on the fact that I think they play on Democrats to not have the resources to look into it, to not give a crap to look into it, or to just focus on our faith, which a lot of minorities are faith-based. So you believe if you're hearing it from the media, if you're hearing it from your family and friends, they all can be wrong.
Right.
So I felt taken advantage of. So for me, I think, have they achieved more division? Hell yes. They've achieved what they wanted to get out. The shit that they're putting on the media, that they're trying to fight for systemic racism and being oppressed, and that the police are killing all these people at an unprecedented rate. I'm like, if we look at numbers, and numbers don't lie, it's simple math. Police officers have an 18%, if not more, within the last 3 months, risk of getting killed by somebody, especially, and I'm going to say it because it is what it is, getting killed by a Black person than the other way around.
I agree.
The numbers don't lie.
That is a fact. Shelly, I appreciate you. You already know you dropped some truth bombs on them today, baby. Okay.
So I walked away.
To piggyback onto that, I just want to say everything she's saying is factual. And talking about the telling the lies, and then people believe it because, it came from one source or another. If you tell a lie long enough and no one looks into it, it becomes the truth. And that's exactly what has happened. That is exactly what has happened. That's why you have people that will defend Black Lives Matter tooth and nail, not just the protesters, but the organization. And they would say what great need we have, but they couldn't tell you how many Black people were actually killed by the police. They couldn't tell you how many of them were armed, how many of them were unarmed. They couldn't tell you, how many Black people shot the police. And they'll weigh on all these things and they'll talk about all of these things, right? But you know what they won't do? They won't hold responsible the people for the real issues going on. The issue that Black Lives Matter touches on, which is police brutality, makes up for 3% of actual deaths in the African American community, and the rest comes from who? Blacks. 97% of the deaths of African Americans happen at the hands of African Americans. So if they say, well, they only target Black Lives Matter is only here for police brutality. If that's true, then why are they pushing for free education and free college? I thought they weren't political. I thought they only had one thing that they move for, which is police brutality. Why are they making things political then? And if you're going to do that and open yourselves up to be able to say, hey, we're going to talk about this now too. Okay, well, how about you touch on the other 97% of the reason why Black people die here in our country, which is Black on Black violence? Why not go to Chicago and talk to them and say, yo, put the guns down? Why not? I'll tell you why, because it goes against the narrative and they really don't care.
It's part of their group. It's part of their narrative. It's part of their narrative.
So I know we all got more points we want to make, but I want to jump over to Black Rant real quick, and I wanted to get his opinion on Black Lives Matter and if he feels like they've made changes that help the country or set the country back, or if they've even met their goal.
I will be very quick because I love the way all these people, you guys have way more experience than I do, but I will say this. Black Lives Matter, they have partially achieved some of the goals that they're trying to get. And I'll tell you why.
Black families.
we talked about this last time, Cash. Mm-hmm. Black Lives Matter. We talked about how these people, most of them end up being white guy, alleged sexual assaulters. They're not talking about Black people as in our skin color. They're talking about Black as in your soul. And they've achieved partially what they want to do because they're corrupting people. They're corrupting. Come on. This is your excuse to act badly, to misbehave, to go in and do all the things you wanted to do to white society. Come on. That's what they're doing. This is just plain sick and evil. But I'll tell you one thing. They have not achieved their goals because it's a failure mentality. It's an attitude of absolute failure. When Black people are really, really, really asking for real change this time around, we're not playing the games no more. You realize Black people are dead serious. We are dead serious. We're not like, no. We dead serious. And when you're playing games with Black people like this, there's enough smart Black people that are going to go, wait a second. They've collected how much money in the last? They've been doing what? And not one school built, not one new Black family sponsored, nothing. It's in their rhetoric that they want to tear down the Black family. They want to destroy the nuclear family. No, that's for white people. So when Cash, you bring up the point, Black Lives Matter is only police brutality, total, utter BS. We say all Black Lives Matter because that destroys their entire narrative. Black Lives Matter. And come on, man, get out of here. So I will say this last thing. Going along with the whole Act Blue thing, how Act Blue is an arm of the Democrats. You guys got to look into this other thing called 1,000 Currents. It's the global version of Act Blue. And they're going to try to get all these revolutions started all over the world. And they're going to work in some of these places, but not in America, baby.
Brother, I love you, man. I really do. That was just a mic drop. Did y'all see it? You didn't see it. I seen the mic. He said like this.
That was a period.
I'm telling you, that was dope. That was dope. So we're going to move over real quick. Corey, you've been quiet for a while. I want to hear you, brother. Come on. Are you muted? That's because of me, right? Yeah. Sorry.
All right. First of all, that's unfair because they said so much. What you want me to say, man?
Whatever you like.
But no, but I do got some thoughts on that, right? So I agree with Black Rant, and I never heard like that, man. I'm glad you said that because that opens my mind up to a whole nother level, right? So they are speaking of Black souls, because Black Lives Matter is a very satanic, a very evil, a witchcraft practicing organization. So are
Yep.
they accomplishing what they set out to accomplishing?
That's what I was
Accomplish? Absolutely, yes. So yeah, so I mean, the answer is yes, and that's hands down. So if you look on a website and you do any kind of type of research into Black Lives Matter, they are not for us. Their goal is the disruption, division, and to tear us down, and they have an agenda behind it. And you know, ultimately, when you think about it, we should feel it. Black people should be offended because they use the word black in order to get Black people emotional to jump on the Black bandwagon, and that's completely evil. It's completely wrong, and I can't. I think I can say this word. I hate it. I hate it, man. I hate it. It's terrible, and I don't have nothing else to say.
I got to piggyback real quick.
Ridiculous.
You're definitely right, and you know, people don't realize this, but Black actually has a completely negative meaning in everything when you use it. We're the only people that call ourselves Black. You go anywhere else across the country, across the world, and no Black person identifies with themselves as Black. They'll say, I'm Kenyan, I'm Somalian, I am German, I am Spanish, I am a Moor, I am Native. No one other than the Americans over here call themselves Black. And do you know why? It's just like what you guys said. What you said, Black Rant. They want us to identify negatively with ourselves, and they have for a very long time. And once we stop and lay everything down that they have taught us, I'm sorry, I gotta say it, the far left. I don't want to say Democrat, because to me there's a difference between a Democrat and a far left. A Democrat is still a good person in my eyes. A Democrat, there's nothing wrong with the Democratic Party when you say the Democratic Party is Democrats. But when you say far left, the far left and the Democrats are two different things. And the far left are the ones that were the racists back in the day. The far left are the ones that are the racists today. The far left are the ones that are keeping us down. Everybody, not just Black, they're the ones that's keeping us down and trying to destroy our country. And you think about why. It's because they identify with Black. And I don't mean that as the color. I mean the blackness of the soul, the blackness of the thoughts, the blackness of the heart. When you say Black male, it's negative. Black sheep, devil's food, Black anything is always associated with negativity. Death. Black is death. Black is sin. All these things that they say, okay? And no one used to identify themselves as that. See, these things were statuses. That's why Black is used as something negative. Back in the day, white and Black were not used to describe a people. They were used as a status. If you had a white status, you were upper echelon. If you had a Black status, you were negative. You had a negative effect on society. You were just a negative being, period. Your daughter is a beautiful little lady. Sorry for going off into that little bit of a rant. I just wanted to educate. We will talk more about that another time. But, Gabby, talk to him.
Cash, as you know, I stand for Black Lives Matter for my own personal reasons. And I feel like a lot of Black America really has not really adapted to the whole thing. Like you have a lot of young African Americans, and they don't get that the Black Lives Matter movement has been hijacked. They don't see that. All they know is Black Lives Matter, we got to stand together, right? And then you got the other side that's like, oh man, they got a march downtown, man. We could go rob this place and we could go loot it. You see what I'm saying? And that's not, I'm not with that. You see what I'm saying? So now it's looking bad because I feel like I'm trying to support a movement for the good, and it's no good in the movement. You understand? So now that just got me all in a frenzy. I'm so upset about it. So now I'm like, okay, now why? How nobody has let's change the whole narrative. Black Lives Matter. Let's change that, right? Take your own movement. Let's do something else. Let's call it something else, right? Because you do have Black people. We can't just push everything under the rug and say, oh, it's no racism going on. We can't say that because it is. You know, you can't close your eyes and say this is not happening. It is happening. Okay, we have to find a way to stop it. The media, it took me a minute to figure out what the media is doing. And they do play us. They play us as a people. They play us, and what I hate is the fact that, and don't get mad at me when I say this. A lot of white people, even though they know what's really happening with the whole Black Lives Matter movement, as soon as ABC 13 puts up something or Channel 2 puts up something, they say, oh, black man just shot such and such. Here goes the entire screen. Everybody, oh, but I thought Black Lives Matter. But Black Lives Matter, right? F Black Lives Matter. And that's the thing. And they know what it is. Why say that? Why even go there? And you know what I'm saying? You understand what's going on, and you quick to just jump into that. And that's what really upsets me, even though you know what the whole narrative is. They hijacked the movement, and I don't really stand well with it at all. I don't agree with it, but I agree with what it originally stand for. I get that, and I get that it's hijacked and it's not the same anymore. And I'm it's just like I feel like I'm the only one that's trying to defend it. And don't get it twisted. If I look down my timeline, it's a lot of Black people that I know, and they would say, if Black lives matter so much, why do we keep killing each other? I see that all the time. I see it every day down my timeline. So don't feel like, we don't see that. We understand it. And the thing is, I'm actually mad too. Like, if you have this movement, go to Chicago. I'm screaming this. I'm saying it. Where is the people in Chicago? Who's standing up for Chicago? Where is Black Lives Matter movement saying, we're heading to Chicago next and we're going to stop these killings? We're going to get these people on board and let's march together. Come on, people, get the people out here. And so I do understand that, because I was closed-minded at once when I was saying, well, Black Lives Matter is for police brutality. So that's all they're fighting for. So what? And I was like that. And now my mind has opened up more to the bigger picture. Black Lives Matter movement is not involved. They're not with the people. They're not for the people. And so I do get that. But not everybody my skin color is getting it. So we got to reach out to them. They're not getting it, but I got it. It took me a while.
Just before we keep going and move over to Anthony, I gotta say, I love you, because you, Gabby, you are brilliant, man. First off, because you are the one that's more the left-leaning person of the show, and you show exactly what I mean when I say about a Democrat. You are the perfect example of what I mean. Like, you are a really good person. You have a really good heart. You have a very a very good way of the way you represent yourself and your points. So I respect you for that. And you know that this is a safe place, girl. You're free to talk here just as much as anybody else. And we're going to love you, and we're going to keep it moving. And it's all good. You family. Okay.
Thank you.
You already know, girl. I got to say this, though. Black Lives Matter, when we say this before, that about it being hijacked, I have to disagree and say that I don't believe it was hijacked, because the true intention of it was there in this mission statement the whole time, when it was talking about destroying the nuclear family and taking the black men out of the home. And not just that, when you say Black Lives Matter, not you, I mean people, Black Lives Matter, okay? Think about that. They got the whole country saying Black Lives Matter, and the people that are with it are out there doing. See, you believe in the canon, the notion of Black Lives Matter, as do everybody here. We all believe that Black Lives Matter, right? The difference maker, we're not out there with them. And the people that are out there with them are looting, they're rioting, they're burning cities down, right? So when they say to stand for Black Lives Matter, I don't even think of it as talking about me or you or John or Corey or Black Rant. I don't even think about them talking about us. I really think they're talking about evil. It matters. Their lives matter. So come on out if you're in agreement, and let's do some evil. That's how I look at it now, because of all the things that's been going on. Maybe that's just my opinion, or maybe that's just my brain taking me to a darker place because I see the things going on in the country, but it all still stands the same. I believe that movement has not been hijacked. I think it was evil from the start. I think it started out bad, and it just had us fooled because of the name. And we heard Black Lives Matter and the things that was going on with Trayvon, that we all identified to it because we like, yo, we black, and this is messed up, and we do matter, and we got all behind it. Everybody, I'm guilty too. I was behind them too. until I opened my eyes to it and seen now it's not about my life mattering. It's about their lives mattering to the point where they can get away with anything. They can do whatever they want and be called heroes for it. Be able to paint over streets. Be able to talk crap to police and throw metal objects at them to damn near kill them. To be able to shoot a guy that was out there in support of being a patriot and murder him. All these things. Russo, talk to him.
Yes, sir. All right. So I got I'm going to do like a little tie together thing. Shelly we were talking on the side, and the interesting thing is I agree with Cash. I don't think this was ever actually for black people. You know, the phrase FUBU, this is actually the not FUBU. This is not for us, by us. For you guys, not for me. Actually, it might be. Technically, I think it was probably more for people that look more like me, because you look at Thousand Currents and you look at all the groups. It starts with a G and ends with an Oros, and these are the global leaders in money that have started this program. And if you think about when they talk about it only being about police brutality. We already talked how that shifted. If you start with Trayvon Martin, that was not police brutality whatsoever. And I've said this before, I think on this show, Cash, we didn't have as many viewers then, but I'll say it again. They chose poster childs that they knew would cause division. Trayvon Martin, there's excuses for people to go, well, there was this happening, it's questionable, so there's going to be one side that disagrees that it was unjust and one side that agrees that thinks it was just. And then you look at the Michael Brown, the two biggest poster childs in it. Michael Brown has a plaque and things celebrating his life in St. Louis, Missouri, and he was a 300-pound thug that had just robbed a store and then fought a police officer and has a false narrative to this day that says hands up, don't shoot.
Yep.
5 years later, because people still think that happened. So really the Black Lives Matter movement was made to divide. They could have used Tamir Rice. He would have been somebody that everybody could have galvanized over, but they didn't choose him. There's a reason behind that, because it unites people. So moving forward to some of the other topics that people brought up. Gabby, I know that you're a Black Lives Matter supporter as you talk about it, but you have to think about it like this. You talk about the young people that don't know, and I actually disagree with Cash. I don't think that the young people are out there to do evil. They are being played, just like everybody else is being played. And honestly, the three organizers that started it, that are the Marxist women, all that, they're being played too. They're being played by the big money saying, yeah, put whatever you want on there, and then we're just going to throw enough money to kill a small horse, and it doesn't matter because we are going to use your blackness to create a complete chaotic scenario. You can say whatever you want. Nobody's even going to care, because even now people are looking at that page and still their country is still Black Lives Matter supporters. So it's not about the hashtags, because any hashtag that lasts for 7 years without actually doing anything is a complete Denitra has been going hard on me for 2 days. Denitra,
you apparently, me too.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, Denitra. Don't let the door hit you.
She said earlier to keep the word black out of your mouth. She told me when I was bringing up facts about Breonna Taylor on a different post, she's like, keep their names out of your mouth. I'm like, will you ask for it regardless? So ultimately, when you look at what we're talking about, I think it's important, Gabby, that you actually say to them, it's not about a hashtag. It's not about this movement. It's about being good, because I don't put hashtag Black Lives Matter. I don't put hashtag Blue Lives Matter, and I'm a police supporter. Why? Because we're human and it's common sense. I don't care about – I care about criminals, and I want to see justice served in a court of law. But when they risk the life of another human, I don't care what happens. And if we all had that mentality, people would stop being criminals. Over time, that would end criminal behavior. And Gabby, if you actually stand up and say, guys, I get that you're young and you're passionate. I know that the systemic racism is we need to keep working towards a better place. But this Black Lives Matter movement is using you. The older Black audience that's my age and up can talk to the young people and say, look, I get what they've been telling you to think. I can't have that conversation, but y'all can. So Gabby, I think it's important that you show empathy and at the same time say, guys, trust me, I've learned some stuff. This is just, it's not right. So ultimately, Black Lives Matter has anywhere from 100 million to $1 billion, because we can't chart it because they're a corporation and they're finding a way to hide all their money. If you're going to tell me that you would have given me over 7 years, anywhere from 100 million to $1 billion to start fixing things, you know, like community programs with police officers and youth, or like community centers, like what we're working on with Cash. You have all of this money, and all you're doing is supporting candidates, which we can't see because you're able to hide it. And then at the same time, they say that they give it to some Black-owned businesses and there's no tracing behind it whatsoever. Come on. They raised $5 million on one campaign in one day, and you can't tell me that they can't make any real change. A hashtag doesn't mean anything.
I agree. I totally agree. Everybody weighed in on that one, right? Everybody had the chance to speak on that topic. Okay, good. All right, so we're going to wrap it up. I got one more thing I want us to talk about, okay? And I want you guys to think about this seriously before you give your answer, because I feel like it's an important question and deserves a little bit of thought on the answer, okay? So we just got done talking about all these things that's going on, how we feel about certain things. So I got to ask the question. We see our country on fire. We see people mounting up and going at it with each other over race, and feeling like, you know, like right now with even Denitra, thinking that, you know, she's ashamed of the Black men on this panel and that we're racist, and we still love you. It's whatever. But for her to feel that way because of our opinion, right? I have an answer for what I'm gonna say, but I want to hear from you guys first. What is the biggest problem in the Black community today, and not just the Black community, in the communities of America? I say Black communities first because this all stemmed around what's happening in the Black community. But overall, the biggest problem in America today, okay? But we'll start with the Black community. And Black Rant, I want to hear you first.
All right. Well, I've actually been holding on to this one for a little while myself. I had an interaction, and this is in response to what you're saying, what may be a challenge or an issue within the Black community. I had this comment to somebody, gave me a comment on my Instagram when I posted something talking about this Jacob Blake situation. And this individual said, I'm white. As a white person, I don't identify with every single white person that I see get shot. And the thing that has happened with Black people is that we have been told who we are. We have bought into that. And as Dr. Cornel West says, he said this, and it always stuck with me. Dr. Cornel West said, Black people see themselves through white eyes. And I totally agree with that, because for so long, where have you seen a Black person in a movie, a TV show? We've only just now, maybe in the last 10, 15, 20 years, become normalized to society as not being the criminal or the bad guy in some movie. But the problem is when you buy into that, when you actually believe that's who you are. I never believed that's who I was because I had a father, because my daddy told me that's not who I was. So I have confidence that that's not what I have to be. But when you continually perpetuate a cycle where the woman is by herself and has to take on the attributes of both the male and the female to raise children in the Black community, when they have men coming in and out of the home that aren't the fathers, that don't give a damn about these kids, just on a pure animalistic level, we have to understand what that looks like. Lions kill the cubs of a female lion when it's not theirs. It's just primal animalistic. You don't really feel the same way. We need fathers. But I will say this, when you identify, and when the Democrats or the left or Black Lives Matter, we say all Black Lives Matter because we care about that. When they make you identify with failure, you're going to repeat failure.
I agree 100%. You touched on a couple of things that I'm going to talk about in my turn. Thank you for that, brother. That was very well said. I want to move over to Corey. Go right ahead, Corey. Oh, wait, I got you muted. Hold on. Go for it, brother.
Okay, if you want me to keep talking behind Black Rant, you're going to have to start asking me to make stuff up, right? Because dude be nailing it, right? So what I was going to say, though, is that the number one problem in the Black community is the absence of the father and the lack of the family and the structure. So what has happened with us is we have gotten away from the order of God. And that's the biggest problem that we have. I mean, whatever you believe in. I mean, I'm a Christian, so I'm gonna go with, you know what I'm saying, God, Christ, man, woman, children, right? So we have gotten away from that. And what happened is the government has given the authority to the woman and said, listen, if you want my help, get rid of him. If I come to your house and catch him there, your benefits are cut or minimized. So then they just the women turned that around on us and started just saying, hey, you know, I don't need you because I am a strong woman, right? And the only thing that we really require for a woman to be is a woman. You know, that's all we need. We don't need a strong woman. We need a virtuous woman. You know what I'm saying? So
say that again.
That's why the men are leaving the homes, staying away from the homes, and leaving our children to be raised by women. And I'm gonna say something that could be offensive to some people. It's just the truth, and I like just face it. You know what I'm saying? And so what's happening is our little boys are growing up and acting like mama. And that is not working out in this world and in this society because they are too emotional. They're making decisions off of emotions, and they committing crimes and going haywire. And so soon as somebody like Black Lives come up and say, and use the word black, then we jump and then we roll. So and then we can touch into things like poverty and things like that, right? But all that stems from the absence of the man in the home.
I agree 100% wholeheartedly. Gabby.
So here's the thing. Let's go back to what's her name? Denitra?
Yes.
Is that her name? Denitra's angry. Let me tell you why she's angry. I used to be Denitra. That was me. Until I met Cash. I got down his throat. I was messaging him, and I felt like in my head, I'm like, "Get this sellout right here," right? I didn't give Cash a chance because what I seen was here's another black man, and he's going against his people because he wants to be white or jump on the white side. That's how a lot of people are thinking. And now looking at it, I believe like that's how she's thinking. But when you open your mind up, and you start reading more and you start listening more and you start giving people a chance and start understanding where they're coming from, you start viewing things from a different perspective. And I feel like that's not, what she's doing. And it plays a big role in everything that's happening right now. You know what I'm saying? Open up your minds, open up your brain, start reading, start doing things, and you'll actually get what's happening. And that's how I'm able to sit here and not get mad at everybody for their views and things that they're agreeing on or disagreeing on, because I started listening. I started opening up my heart and my mind and saying, you know what, we as black people, we got to start getting involved, and we got to start listening. We got to start moving better. We got to start understanding, using our brain, start reading. We're not doing that. A lot of them. Let me not speak for everyone because I can't do that. I could speak for myself and how far I've come. And I was that person. I was Don Teacher. I was her. I was down Cash's throats, okay? Accusing him of not being black enough, basically, without just saying that, and I had to open up my mind. Open up your mind. Open up your minds, black people, and stand up, regardless if I'm, leaning more to one side or another. Right now, I'm stuck in the middle. I'm stuck in the middle right now because I'm opening up my minds more. I have a friend, her name is Sean, and she would post and post and post about the racist stuff, the white America, black, look what they're doing. If this was a black guy, this would have happened, right? And not too long ago, Sean posted her profile picture and it said Trump 2020. And everybody was like, what? Sean, what the? And went off on her. And she was like, well, if I'm going to vote for somebody, I'd rather vote for somebody that's probably known to be racist than an undercover racist. And that's what she said. That's where she went with it. So, and they gave her a hard time about it. And I'm not going to lie, I felt her on it.
I hear you.
I did.
Gabby, I love you, man. I can't say that enough. I really appreciate you. I appreciate your truth. I appreciate your opinion, and I really appreciate your openness on how you were able to talk to me when we first started out. Because girl, you was down my throat for real. You was on me, and I'm so glad that we did connect though. Because look at what happened, and we're bringing awareness to things, and we're showing people how you can break down them walls, break down the barriers, and become what we are. So
Yeah, this has helped me. It helped me a lot. I'm glad I gave you a chance. I was actually running from you, and you said let's do the show, and I did not. I refused. It's like I didn't tell you I refused, but I don't know if you knew I was dodging you, and I gave you a chance, and now now my mentality of seeing everybody that's come on the show and listening to Russo and everybody, it's opening up my mind now. And I'm sitting here, I've been thinking small-minded, like, I feel like I'm a basic chick when I was thinking like that. And I'm sitting here like, nah, I got a head up on y'all because I'm on top of the game now. I'm opening up my mind to game and change now.
You're extraordinary. That's what you are. And I'm glad you're here. I'm so glad that you're a part of this team. For real. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
No problem. Mr. Anthony, Black and Right. Come on, man. Come talk to him, brother. The question was, if you don't remember the question, what do you feel the biggest problem in Black America today is?
Our inability to communicate. I think communication is one of the biggest defaults that's been broken down in America across all racial lines. I think when we're able to communicate, because you, Gabby, and Cash just proved why that's important. Because Gabby didn't really know who you were, Cash, and Cash, you really didn't know who Gabby was. But when you guys came together and you let down your guards and you communicated what you guys both believe, you found a common ground. I'm a former hostage crisis negotiator when I was a cop. Shelly, you know how tough that job is. One of the things that you learn is that in being a crisis hostage negotiators, you learn to find the heartstring. Once you have the heartstring, you pull it, Cash. You pull it. You don't yank it. You gently pull it. The problem is what's happening in our country and what's happening around the world. We're so in each other's face, and we're not willing, as I see Anthony's thing says, be the change. We're not willing to be the change. We're not willing to be the ones that's standing on the line, changing how we communicate with each other. If we could ever understand how important communication is, we can change the world. And the world doesn't mean the entire world. The world means each one of the people that's on this screen today. You change the world by changing the world of the people you encounter on a daily basis. That's how you change the big screen world, by changing individual worlds. And that starts with communication. In Black communities, we like to sweep things under the rug. And we don't like anybody else that doesn't look like us to expose it. And when the people that look like us start exposing what we swept under the rug, they're the Uncle Toms, they're the Coons, they're the people. And in reality, our heart is saying, let's change it. In Hispanic communities as well. Our heart says, we want people. Because at the end of the day, we're the human race.
Yes.
We're the human race. Man created these silos. But at the end of the day, we are the human race. And the truth of the matter, if you look at scientifically, we all have the same brown tone. But our inability to communicate these things keep us like this at odds. But if we could ever remove the force and start talking to each other, see, Cass, what you're doing? What I do on Black and Right on AM 560 The Answer every Saturday, 1 to 3 p.m. See that shit?
Yes, sir.
What I do on that, I bring people from all over, from different perspectives, to have a conversation about the tough, uncomfortable conversations. those uncomfortably woke conversations. Because until we're he said, Shelly, I love that. Until we're willing to have those conversations that are hard, that are tough, that may make us look foolish and stupid, until we're ready to have those conversations, I think we change the world. We are the change. We be the change. That's what I'm looking for. And that's why all of us, can't give up on that. I'm sure you agree.
I hear you, man. Thank you for that, bro. And we're gonna talk later. I want me and you got to talk one-on-one to the people, because you said something to me the other day that you had me like just. We'll get into that another time. I want to move over real quick to Shelly, because I need her to weigh on this, not just on the perspective of the Black community, which I do want to hear too, because it's synonymous in Chicago. Black and Latin community, same thing in Chicago. So, go ahead, Shelly. Unmute yourself.
Okay, first, before I get into like my opinion of it, I just want to say that I appreciate each and every one of you guys and your opinions. And I love that we are so diverse. Like, I love the fact that we have people of all colors on this page. And I do want to say that, like, looking at you guys all, I look at you as people. I don't look at you as a color. I look at you all as people, and I appreciate and respect each and every one of you. I tend to get a little bit nervous when I do these like little things, because people automatically think that, you know, once you say the word officer, they write you off because they assume I'm biased. They don't understand that I come from a poor community. I was raised dirt poor. I still live in the literally in the hood. I live in the hood. I decided to do this job because I wanted to be the change I wanted to see in my own community. I work in the community I grew in. I didn't want to talk about it. I wanted to be about it. I was gonna put my money where my mouth. I was gonna put, you know, what's the saying?
Money where your mouth is.
I want to put my money where my mouth was. So I wanted to be the change I wanted to see community. And I grew up with a lot of Hispanics and a lot of Blacks. My best friend growing up was Black. My people tell me, "Oh, you're a racist. You're this." They call me white because my skin is pale. But I'm like my granddaughter. She is African American, and she is the best thing that has ever happened to me. So I wanted to be a part of this, to bridge those gaps between us as people, because I see us as one race. I see us as the human race. I see us as one people. So for me, I think the problem in Hispanic, in minority communities, I'm going to use the word minority communities. I do work in minority communities. So I think the problem is that people listen to respond. They don't listen to get the message. They're not willing to have that conversation. They're not willing to talk about it. They don't want to hear you because for whatever reason that they'll create in their own minds, whether they've been manipulated by the media, where they've been manipulated in the school system, where they've been manipulated by family and friends, and not so much intentionally family and friends, because they're learning what they learned. So I think the biggest problem is that people listen to respond. Like right away, it's those knee-jerk reactions. They work off of feelings. They work off of emotions. They don't take a step back to calm down. And I haven't been guilty of it myself. Like, I was not always the police. And I grew up in a very rough neighborhood in Humboldt Park. So, and it was, you know, right away, like, it was never, we're going to talk about it. You touch me and I'm going to beat your ass, period. Like, that's just kind of the way we grew up, right? It's a mental in slavery. So I don't blame people for not knowing and not understanding. I blame them for not wanting to learn. Like, Gabby, I appreciate you so much for having that difference of opinion and stepping up and being a bigger person so you could have that dialect with Cash. And if we can get, which is why I've been talking to Black Rant, I've been talking to LaShawn, been talking to Cash. Like, I'm like, we need to get people. And it started when you guys had Jam on the other day. And she made a comment and said that, like, she said it to Anthony, like, she would not be willing to listen to Anthony because Anthony's white. But she'd be willing to listen to Cash because Cash is Black. So it literally started a fire in me. Like, LaShawn and I reached out. I've been talking to Black Rant. I'm like, we need people of all color. We need people of all color to come together and speak on it so that other people can see, although we come from different backgrounds and we have different skin colors and different work statuses, the fact that we still have the ability to talk, we can agree to disagree. That is okay. We cannot work based off of emotions. We cannot work based off of feelings. In my community and in Black communities that I worked in, I worked on the west side of Chicago for a long time. And I think like another big problem to that is you want change, but you don't want to be a part of that change. You know, they have the whole snitches get stitches kind of mentality. We are not going to get better because it shouldn't be just about police brutality. And I will never defend a cop who's done something terrible. I will never defend that. I will never defend that. But I will never defend a Puerto Rican, a Mexican, a Black, or a white person, an Asian, any other color. If you're doing some bad shit, I would never defend that. Wrong is right, and wrong is wrong, and right is right. So for me, I feel like until we start being that change in our own community, until we start within ourselves, doing something to change that with people. Like I took this job for many reasons. I wanted to be the change. I also wanted to work in my community to bridge that gap because I grew up for a big family. I have like 76 first cousins. They're not play cousins. They're real cousins. That's how big my damn family is. So a lot of them, they're still out in the hood. I still love and respect them. They respect what I do. I respect, they have their issues. I have my issues. But I think that we need to reach out to our own people. We have to start with ourselves. When I go and I talk to these young girls that are molested or rape victims, like they don't understand because I don't tell them my story. I relate to that on a deeper level. I can understand you. I can feel that pain. I know what you've been through. So I think when people right away think like cop and then they cut you off, I'm thinking first and foremost, and I said it earlier, I'm a mom because those 5 children are the most important thing in my life. They gave me a reason to live. They give me a reason today to want a better future for my granddaughter who is biracial. And we don't talk about biracial racism because it is a real thing. You're too white to have Black people problems, and you're too Black to have white people problems. And that's a conversation people don't want to have. And again, people talk to respond. They don't talk to listen or to truly use their heart and their mind to connect with other people. But anyways, that's it. I'm not going to keep you guys because I talk too much. Sorry.
You was hitting on a lot of stuff. You was taking us to some places with that one, and I feel you. And you touched on a lot of things. You were right about a lot of things that you said, which we will talk about on another show. No, you're fine. You're fine. It's okay. That was good. That was good. And I hope everybody was paying attention to the things she was saying. Russo, now the reason why I need your perspective, Russo, on what you feel the biggest issue is, or the biggest problem is in Black America today is because you're white. So what do you feel as a white man? And I really am interested in hearing this. What do you feel as a white man is, well, a white American? You're an American. Everybody knows I'm American. We're Americans. I love America. That's what we are. But we got to use the color thing because that's what's so hot right now. That's what people are talking about right now. So as a white man, I want to know your perspective on what you feel the biggest problem in the Black community is today. Absolutely. And wait. Do not feel afraid to speak about it either, because you've already been brave enough to speak on the things that you have spoken about already. And I need you to keep that up and show people that it's okay to have an opinion. Nobody here will be upset to know a white guy's opinion on what's wrong with Black America from your eyes.
Absolutely.
So go for it, brother.
See, I don't think it's even something that's going to be hard to say, because I think it's pretty simple, because it actually it utilizes all the issues that the more Democrat or liberal mentality talks about, that systemic racism, and I do believe in systemic racism that is affecting our current generation over time. It's a chain mentality. So the problem is with the Black community is they have been they were enslaved, and then they didn't have their rights, and then they've continued mental enslavement. And what that's done is allowed for them to be manipulated easier. The Black population is too easily manipulated as a whole, which is why Cash, you give me hope. This panel gives me hope because in my mind, all I want to do is help. I've created Be the Change as 4 years ago to help people to actually create a way to take action, help communities, do different things, and get them out of a mindset that has enslaved them for too long. So you look at things like the word enablers. The issue with the Black community is the fact that they're allowing white democratic belief to keep them down with the guise of using the word ally. So the word ally is something I've started using more and more in the last couple of weeks because the word ally is very strong, but we use it, the Democratic side uses the word ally way too much and incorrectly. They believe being an ally means speaking up for and standing up for, when really the word ally is supposed to mean standing with, standing in front of, standing behind. You are a teammate. So if you look at any, and I find it really odd when you see Black Lives Matter as just the hardcore Black Lives Matter supporters being doctors and psychologists, because there is not a single psychologist that I know of, that will tell somebody that in order to get out of their current mindset or their way of life, that having a victim mentality will ever actually help them. That's not a lesson ever given. Now, understanding the struggle is being an ally and saying, let's move on from here. So ultimately, the big issue is that the Black community doesn't listen to, and I think it's fine. I understand why they don't listen to people like me. When Jam had that issue, like, I get that. And that's why I love being able to work with people like this panel, is everybody's going to listen to somebody different. Like there's some of my friends that might not listen to Cash talk about like, hey, I used to be this, and this is how I think. They'll be like, because there is some implicit biases in them that's like, yeah, but that's because he's dumb. I don't want to listen to him. He used to be a gangbanger, and he's not dumb. But that's just the way the brain works. So you have to break past all the things, and you use whatever vessel you can find. If it's me, great. If it's Cash, great. And there just has to be, it's got to steamroll. It's got to be a bigger team that can communicate to the Black community to no longer enable them to be victims, to say, sorry, let's work together. Let's do this together. And the current system that Black Lives Matter supports is not doing it. And there's one last thing that you guys said earlier that relates to this. On the last conversation, Cash, you were talking about Democrat and far left.
Yeah. I'm about to drop a truth bomb, just so you know.
What's that?
I'm about to drop a truth bomb as soon as you're done. Go right ahead.
This is it. So we actually hear, and this is also part of the Black community, because Democrats are no longer Democrats. They're no longer liberal. The liberal belief, I was a lifelong Democrat too until about 2012. I still have a lot of liberal beliefs. Part of being liberal is being open-minded and accepting of other people. The Democrat Party is actually more far left. Democrats have become a far left party, which now is the group that enables criminal behavior and celebrates it. So you can still have liberal ideas to the Black community and say, let's help each other out and be allies and be able to move forward towards success together.
I agree. Totally agree. And that was dope as hell to hear you just speak right now upon that issue or that question. I have to say, I know I asked you guys a specific one answer and we all kind of went off, but I got a couple things that I want to touch on with that when we say what's the biggest problem facing the Black community today. Number one, I feel like Black people in this country have an identity crisis. Black Fran touched on it a little bit. We don't know who we are. We have to be told who we are, or we have to learn who we are based off of music, based off of movies, based off of Black History Month, based off of all these different things. But we don't really know, which is why you see so many Black people say that there's so many different things. If a person doesn't say that he's Black, he might say he's a Moor. He might say that he's a Hebrew Israelite. He might say that he's an African American. He might say that he's a Negro. And there's all reason why he would say those things and not say that he's just Black. You know what I'm saying? There's reasoning behind it. We've been told that we are somebody that we are not through history, and history is his story. It's not ours. It's his story of who we are, because we don't know anymore, which is why I said, screw it. I let it all go. I'm done trying to figure out who I was before slavery. I'm an American now. I stand as an American now. That doesn't matter to me anymore, because right now I deal with American issues. I deal with American problems. This is home. This is home. This is the only place that we have. I don't know what happened before. I don't care what happened before. Only thing I know is that I got right now, right here. This is home. So I'm an American. That's my identity. And that's one of the biggest issues, is the identity crisis. We are told who we need to be, or shown who we need to be. And there's so many different examples of what a black man is that it gets confusing. That's why you have black gangbangers. That's why you have black dope dealers. That's why you have black pimps. That's why you have black whatever. That's why you have Martin Luther Kings. That's why you have, it's a whole wide variety of people. Okay. Moving forward into that is the fatherlessness, because of who we are told to be with the identity crisis. Now, depending on where you grow up and how you grow up and the things that you watch and the things that you listen to, it's going to affect the way that you father, or if you are a father at all. And I say that because growing up, let's listen to some of the things that I watched growing up. One of my favorite movies growing up in the hood was Don't Be a Man, or Minister Society. Minister Society was one of my favorite movies. And me and my cousin would say, like, I would say that I was Kane and he was O-Dog. You know what I'm saying? So we would run around the hood and I would try to be Kane and he would try to be O-Dog. And we were young. You know what I'm saying? So somebody messing with him, I'm going to tee off. I'm going to tee off on the dude first. He going to come in and start stomping him, but he'll be the one to run out and, you know, get at you. And it was just that way, because that's the movies that we watched. That's what we thought we had to be, because that's where we can identify with that. Like, yo, you go to the store, you're going to hear some gunshots, or you just heard this person died. So where I come from, that's just what it was, you know? So fatherlessness. And in that movie, you notice that he lived with his grandparents. His mother and his father both was dead. One OD'd and the other one was murdered. And I identify with that because my father was murdered and my mom had OD'd, though she was alive still. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't, you know, at that time, I didn't even know if I wanted to have kids when I got older, because I'm like, I ain't got a dad. What if I get killed? My kids ain't gonna have no dad. And a lot of kids around the neighborhood, around the hood, they don't have dads. I grew up knowing that. And it's not because they were dead, but some of them were incarcerated. Some of them just didn't care, didn't want to be around. And it caused, and you could see the trauma that it caused in a lot of the people that I know from where I'm from, because they took the same route that I took as a teenager, of gangbanging, drug dealing, violence. You know what I'm saying? So then that's a big issue, is fatherlessness. Another one is the music itself. The music that we listen to in our Black culture, the music that we have, that we praise, that we let our daughters listen to, and they start dancing and they want to make twerk videos on TikTok and they want to make YouTube videos of dancing, and you got your sons, you know, riding around listening to certain things. And then with me growing up, the music that I listened to, it made me want to go out and shoot. It made me want to go out and fight. It made me want to go out and get money. That was the music that I listened to. And it was only in the hood, because when I go in the house and I'm by myself, you know, I'm listening to Tim McGraw, because that's what I grew up on. My mom showed me that music. So I'm listening to all this country music, which I guess maybe put the love back in me a little bit. And I was listening to R&B. You know, I listened to a lot of old school because my stepdad was a lot older and that's what he would play. So I was introduced to a wide variety of music, and it all affected me in a certain type of way. But the music of today, if our children was raised on the music of today, then our children, our young daughters would be okay with having multiple partners. Our young daughters would be okay with not having a man or having multiple men, and glorifying, you know, their bodies more than God. You know what I'm saying? And being okay with sex at a very young age with multiple different people. And the young guys, they would be okay with, you know, taking their best friend's girl and making him want to hate on him because he don't got, you know, what he got, and all these things. It's just like crabs in the barrel when it comes to the music. And if it's not the crabs in the barrel mentality, then it's also it's okay to be a hoe. You know what I'm saying? And that's not okay. Then you go into welfare, a crippling agent of not just the Black community, but the white community, the Hispanic community. It was meant to cripple because you go back into fatherlessness, like you touched on. Say you cannot have the father in the home and get as much as we will give you. And if you do got the father in the home, well, that means you got a man that you got to listen to or answer to, that you're going to have disagreements, and your man ain't going to want you to go out to the club. He's not going to want you to go out and take that money and spend it over here doing something that you don't need to be doing with it. He's going to want you to be responsible because he's working for that money. So it broke down the family. It took the fathers out of the home. Welfare, a big issue in the Black community and poor communities. All right. Not just that. Welfare also incentivized women to have more kids because then that way they get more money. Didn't matter about the partner. Doesn't matter. I'm going to go out and party, do what I want to do. I'm going to sleep with this dude. I'm going to sleep with that dude. And I'm going to have kids because they're going to give me more money. I might even get a place to stay for $36 a month. And I'm going to have a whole bunch of food. And now I can even take my food stamps and go and sell them at the corner store. You know what I'm saying? So it became an incentive to bring fathers out of the home and to bring more kids into the home. Okay? Then one of the biggest issues for me that I feel faces the Black community is Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood. Why do I say that? Well, Planned Parenthood is mainly in povertized communities and mostly Black communities. Why is that? Well, there's two things. It goes hand in hand with the fatherlessness and the music. Well, you got this music promoting these young girls to go out and have sex, teaching them that it's okay. And you already have a lot of fatherlessness because of the generation before of welfare and what they've done. So this message that we put out to these young girls is it's okay, go out and you can do what you want to do. And you don't have to use protection because you can go to Planned Parenthood. So then these young girls get diseases. These young men get diseases by sleeping with these young girls and these older girls and these older men. And then they think, okay, well, if I don't want to have this baby, I could just get rid of this baby. It's a big issue in Black communities. If you go by Planned Parenthood at any time in the hood, you're going to see some people in there. And most likely they're going to be some young girls. So all of those things go hand in hand. Every one of them issues that I just touched on is an issue in the Black community, and they all go in to one another. All of them. They all, they entangle. There's so many more that I could touch on. There's a lot more that I could touch on, but we don't have the time. We've already went over. I appreciate all of you guys coming on here and talking with us. I'm gonna unmute everybody. I really appreciate you all. I really do. And I know that I'm going to get some crap for the last one about Planned Parenthood, but it's a real thing. It's the truth. And the reason I say that is because you talk about Black Lives Matter. Yeah, we got Planned Parenthoods in the hood taking Black lives more than any police officers, more than anybody, really. And we just okay it. Did you guys see the video of the Planned Parenthood where the young girl goes in there with the older guy and it's like they're trying to catch him up, and the older guy's like, yo, I gotta, I run these girls, you know what I'm saying? They work with me for some money, but they 14 and you know what I'm saying? I just don't, they don't want to get the, had a baby, and how do I go about that? And she schools them. Basically like, oh, well, we could do this right now, but you're going to have to do everything else from the waist up. Like basically schooling him how to make the girl still make money for him after she has an abortion. And it broke my heart. Real talk. Made me feel really bad and scared for my daughters, which is why I try so hard to be a good father. And I see you over there, John. I got to bring you up on the screen with your babies, man. You know, that's amazing to me. That is the most amazing thing in the world to me, is to see a man be a father. Because that's what matters at the end of the day. If we want to stop the problems, and not just the Black communities, but all of our communities, we need more fathers in the home. Being fathers, not just being in the home, but being real fathers to these children. That's what's going to stop these protests, because a lot of these kids that are out there in these protests ain't got their fathers. You don't see no real men out there in them protests, in them riots. You don't see no real mothers. You see young kids. You see kids that don't got family. So, yeah, that's my final thought for this show, man. Like I say, I really appreciate all of you guys coming on. Do you got anything that you would like to leave the people with? We will go from me towards you, Anthony, and down the line. Please take about 30 seconds because we are over time, guys. And just talk to the people with your closing statements.
Yes, sir. Well, again, as usual, never cease to amaze me, Cash. Great job with all this panel and having a really great conversation. The comments were super interesting, and it's always fascinating to see how people take different parts of information. My last takeaway is, again, the biggest thing that I took from this is we actually can take action. And people are saying, what are you going to do? Take action by actually being the word ally. Like I said, right now, speaking up is actually incredibly important. Supporting our message, supporting Cash's message, sharing what we put out there, and showing that there is positivity behind it. And I think right now, actually being an ally to policemen is huge, because they're the ones that are going to have the itchy trigger finger if their lives are in danger. So that's it for me this week. I know Cash will be on our show on Truth Will Set You Free. We're actually having a non-political show that day. We're talking about religion. And then the next day, I've got Daryl Davis, which is a perfect example on how to change people's mind. Daryl Davis will be on our first show at Changemakers, guy that got people out of the KKK, not by yelling at them, by showing love and compassion over time.
Yes, definitely going to be one you guys don't want to miss. Miss Shelley, go right ahead.
I just want to say thank you guys again for having me. I love and appreciate all of your guys' opinions and respect you all for doing something like this. I do want to say that I hope that going forward, we all can stay together as one and unite people. And I'm talking about all people of all colors, of all job positions, police or not, because unfortunately, at the end of the day, a lot of people are getting killed unnecessarily. So that's kind of just what that's it.
Got you, my sister. Go ahead, John.
Good, I'm muting.
You got to unmute.
I think I muted myself. Sorry. I did not know I was muted. Cash, I want to first of all say thank you for inviting me on. Don't change my. She's changing my. What do you call that emoji? Whatever that's called.
Yeah.
But you don't have glasses.
But thank you. I think the only way we change the world is when we come together and have the hard conversations. That's the only way we really, really, really allow others to see how to change. So I appreciate it. I'm always looking for people to come on my show. Anthony, you're coming on this Saturday with Cash, so I've been told. Cash said that. But Shelly, you stay safe out there. Just face it, Black Rant for Liberty. Gabby, I just want to say thank you guys. Be the change.
Yes, sir. Go right ahead, Black Rant for Liberty.
I'm just going back to what you were saying with the Planned Parenthood thing. We know all about it. They are on video admitting that they get Ferraris for baby parts. So there's financial incentive. They're not just trying to do it just to be, oh, I just love killing babies. There's a financial incentive. So people like to get in that argument, no abortion. Abortion is not going anywhere. I will fight for people to be able to get them, but let's not create a culture where it's just a machine. It's just a machine. That's it. I love it. Thank you guys. I love all you guys. Let's keep it moving and keep trying to wake people up and unite them.
Yes, sir. Just face it. Go right ahead, Corey.
All right, man. Hey, listen, I really appreciate me being all of you all allowing me here and accepting me and accepting my opinion all day, although sometimes it may be a little different, but that's all right because that's what we're here for. I mean, I don't know what else to say except for next time. See, I feel like you put me in initiation because you got me answering questions behind Black Rant. And that can be challenging. And I appreciate the challenge because it makes my mind think. So that I appreciate it all, man. Thanks a lot.
No problem at all. My beautiful sister, go right ahead.
Well, thank you. So my closing statement would be to everyone, if I could make a change or if I want people to change, here's the thing. You have to start with yourself, or you have to open up your mind to even be able to help someone else. I never thought that I would be able to have anybody else think like I'm thinking. But when you surround yourself with other people that's doing something different or trying to make a change, then you can be part of the change. If you don't do that, then it's no way that you can change. You see, you have to open up your mind. You have to um, just start listening, start being part of the change instead of part of the problem. And what I can say is that I've always been part of the problem because I always used to hate when people would say something about Black people. I was that person. Oh, you're talking about Black people again. But I had to open up my mind and say, you know what? I got to start thinking differently. I don't care if you're Black now. If you're wrong, then you're wrong. And so if I'm willing to open up my mind and start making that change, then I can be a change and I can be able to help somebody else change. And so that's my message that I have to everybody that's listening, whoever is closed-minded, that doesn't want to hear or don't agree with everything that we're saying, or you feel like, oh, we're a sellout or this and that, no, start thinking outside the box for a change.
Yes, 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 yes. I appreciate you all. I really do. I'm going to fade you guys out to the back and I'll meet with you in the back room. All right. So today's show was important to me. Not just because it's going to be a part of the podcast, but because there was a lot of different perspective and a lot of hard questions that was asked and a lot of very, very, very well thought out answers. And we don't rehearse none of this. This was right from the heart, which is the point of this show. The sum of all parts is to grab people from all walks of life, from each different ethnicity, and hear their thoughts on the matters that are faced with to all of us in America today, and to hopefully bridge a gap and bring it all together to where we can show that, listen, it doesn't matter if we don't view things the same. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat, if you're a Republican. It doesn't matter if you're Black, if you're white, if you're brown, if you're Hispanic, if you're African, or if you're European. None of those things matter. The only thing that matters is just like I think it was Anthony John. John said communication. We have to be able to communicate. And when you do communicate, you don't listen with the intent to respond. You listen with the intent to understand. And once you gain that understanding, you're able to dialogue, figure out a solution to the problems that you feel you're faced with. That's the only thing that's the only way things are going to get better, is if we start to listen to one another. Even if I strongly disagree, which I do with a lot of people, but I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to listen. So you need to be willing to listen, even if you disagree, just to show the other person your heart that you're there, that you actually do care how they feel. And it's hard to do sometimes. Trust me, I know. But you know what? We're Americans. And I don't feel like there's anything that we cannot do. We've jumped over every single hurdle that we have been faced with. And I believe strongly that we're going to jump over this hurdle that we're faced with right now. This will be a thing of the past that we look at and say, I can't believe that actually happened, but I'm so proud that we're here now. Mark my word, it's going to happen. That being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in to Sum of All Parts. We will be back at you again next Sunday, same time, same place. Till then, unite, don't fight, be a street light, because only you can be the change that you want to see in the world. And when you get too stressed out, remember to breathe, America. Trump.